You are the king.
What if the balance shifted? What if Simba was never the destined king? Life in the Pride Lands had always followed strict rules, with power passing down through Mufasa's lineage. But what if that wasn't the inevitable fate? What if everything changed? If Kovu became king before Simba, the Pride Lands would enter an entirely new era, but one filled with danger, betrayal, and deadly conflicts. In an alternate world, if Scar had defeated Simba in their final battle, Zira and the outsiders would have remained in power, and Zira would have raised Kovu as Scar's successor from a young age. If Simba had never escaped after Mufasa's death and was eliminated, Zira would have ensured Kovu became the undisputed ruler. If Zira had executed her plan earlier and seized the throne, Kovu would have been raised as the rightful king without any threat from Simba. But what would the consequences be? Would Kovu become a tyrant, following in Scar's footsteps? Or would his heart struggle against a legacy of bloodshed? How would the fates of the other characters change? Would the lions submit to his rule, or would rebellion ignite? And most importantly, would Zira stop there? Or did her ambitions know no bounds? Once Kovu became king, Zira would never have forgotten Sarabi, Simba's mother, who had always stood by Mufasa and Simba, even leading the lions against Scar. Zira harbored a deep grudge against her and would have sought revenge. Sarabi represented the old throne and was a source of strength for Simba. Eliminating her would have only been a matter of time. Perhaps Zira would have executed her publicly, to send a clear message that the old reign was over. Another possibility was that Zira would have tortured Sarabi, letting her suffer a slow death as revenge for Scar's demise. The lions loyal to Simba would have been paralyzed with fear, and this moment would have forced them to either submit to Kovu or rise in rebellion. If Simba still posed a threat, Kovu wouldn't have faced him alone. He would likely have used Scar's cunning by forming an alliance with the hyenas. The hyenas who betrayed Scar and killed him might have been outcast afterward, seeking a way back to power. Kovu could have offered them revenge on Simba in exchange for their loyalty, surrounding Simba with both outsider lions and an army of bloodthirsty hyenas. Perhaps a trap would have been set, Kovu facing Simba while the hyenas encircled him, making escape nearly impossible. If the plan succeeded, Simba would have met his end like Mufasa, but this time at Kovu's hands, ensuring his uncontested rule. If Zira became the true ruler by placing Kovu on the throne, would she have allowed Simba's daughter, Kiara, to live? Zira saw Kiara as the greatest threat to Kovu's future reign, since she was the rightful heir to the throne. Perhaps she would have ordered Kiara's death while she was still young to prevent any future opposition. She might have tried imprisoning her, forcing her to pledge loyalty to Kovu, but she knew Kiara wouldn't submit easily. Another possibility was that Kiara would escape the Pride Lands, forming alliances with lions who distrusted Kovu. If Zira succeeded in killing Kiara, it would mean the complete end of Mufasa's bloodline, securing Kovu's reign forever. Initially, Kovu would have been heavily influenced by Zira, meaning his rule would be built on fear and strength. Over time, would he realize he didn't want to be like Scar? Perhaps he would begin rejecting Zira's orders and strive to be a different kind of king. However, he would face an internal struggle. Should he continue ruling with an iron fist to maintain power, or should he seek peace with the original pride? If he chose justice, the outsiders might revolt against him for betraying Zira's path. If he continued ruling through force, he might end up isolated or overthrown by a lion seeking revenge. Even if Kovu ruled the Pride Lands, it wouldn't mean everyone would accept him as the rightful king. Nala, Simba's mate, wouldn't have remained silent under Kovu's reign and might have led a secret resistance. Some of Simba's loyal lions, like Vitani, Kovu's sister, might have started doubting Kovu's leadership and plotted against him. Timon and Pumbaa could have played a role in smuggling Kiara out of the kingdom to rally opposition. A key figure among the lions might have betrayed Kovu at a critical moment, just as the hyenas turned on Scar. If Simba escaped but couldn't reclaim the throne immediately, what would become of him? He might have ventured beyond the Pride lands, seeking to build alliances with other lion groups. Perhaps he would have gathered an army and launched a prolonged war against Kovu, throwing the Pride lands into endless conflict. In the end, could Simba have transformed into another Scar, an exiled king driven by vengeance? Would Kovu have relied solely on the outsiders, or would he have turned to the hyenas once again? If he allied with the hyenas, it would mean a return to chaos and famine, just like Scar's reign. But maybe Kovu was smarter, using the hyenas without giving them absolute power. However, the hyenas could have betrayed him in a moment of weakness, just as they did with Scar, if they felt he no longer served their interests. If Kovu ruled under Zira's ideology, the Pride lands might have turned into a barren wasteland of famine and war. But if he changed his path, he could have sought balance between the original Pride and the outsiders, ushering in a new era of prosperity. The struggle between the past and the future would determine whether the Pride lands survived or collapsed entirely. Would Kovu have proven himself as the rightful king? Or would the original Pride have rebelled against him? Would Simba or Kiara have reclaimed the throne through force or alliances? Would Zira have maintained her grip on power? Or would Kovu have risen against her? Would the outsiders and original Pride have united? Or would war have raged on for generations?